What happens when a public health crisis shuts down an entire nation? Businesses close. Millions stay home. Governments impose emergency measures. And behind the scenes, another question emerges. How do criminal organizations react when society suddenly changes overnight? During the COVID-19 pandemic, some people asked a provocative question. If the American Mafia still held the power it once did, how would it have responded to the man who became the public face of the pandemic response, Dr. Anthony Fauci? The answer reveals a fascinating story about power, money, influence, and the hidden relationship between organized crime and public crises. Before we dive deeply, kindly subscribe to my page, follow, like, and share for more hidden history, untold stories, and fascinating historical mysteries. The COVID-19 pandemic changed modern history. Lockdowns affected economies. Travel stopped. Entire industries shut down. Public officials became household names. Few became more recognizable than Dr. Anthony Fauci. As one of America's leading public health officials, Fauci became a central figure in the national response. Supporters viewed him as a trusted expert. Critics blamed him for restrictions that affected businesses and daily life. The controversy was enormous. But hidden beneath the political debates lies a different story. A historical question. How have organized crime groups historically responded when governments disrupt economic activity? To answer that question, we must first understand the Mafia. Hollywood often portrays the Mafia as an all-powerful secret empire. Reality was more complicated. Throughout the 20th century, major American crime families built influence through gambling, labor racketeering, loan sharking, extortion, and infiltration of legitimate businesses. Organizations such as the Genovese crime family, Gambino crime family, and Lucchese crime family generated enormous profits. But their greatest concern was rarely ideology. It was money. Organized crime tends to follow opportunities. And opportunities change during crises. One shocking claim frequently appeared during the pandemic. Some commentators suggested that organized crime would never tolerate large-scale shutdowns because they would threaten revenue streams. The implication was dramatic. That powerful criminal groups would somehow challenge officials responsible for restrictions. But is that what history actually shows? Not exactly. Historically, organized crime organizations have usually adapted to changing conditions rather than confronting powerful governments directly. When laws changed, criminals adjusted. When markets disappeared, they found new ones. When enforcement increased, they evolved. Survival, not confrontation, was often the priority. This pattern appears repeatedly throughout organized crime history. One of the least discussed aspects of organized crime is its ability to exploit disruption. During economic crises, shortages create opportunities. During uncertainty, black markets emerge. Throughout history, criminal enterprises have often sought profit from instability rather than attempting to stop it. This hidden pattern appears across decades and across countries. The goal was rarely changing public policy. The goal was finding new revenue streams. The pandemic created unusual conditions. Businesses closed. Supply chains struggled. Entire industries faced unprecedented disruption. Researchers studying organized crime noted that criminal groups worldwide adapted in various ways. Some shifted operations. Others focused on financial fraud. Some exploited government relief programs. The story was not one of direct confrontation. It was one of adaptation. Popular culture often exaggerates mafia power. Films and television created an image of criminal organizations capable of controlling everything around them. The historical record paints a different picture. Organized crime groups frequently struggled against federal investigations. Many leaders were imprisoned. Major prosecutions weakened traditional mafia structures. By the 21st century, their influence was far smaller than during their mid-century peak. Anthony Fauci became one of the most visible figures of the pandemic era. Visibility brought scrutiny. His recommendations influenced public policy discussions. His statements generated headlines worldwide. As debates intensified, Fauci became a symbol. To supporters, he represented science and public health. To critics, he represented restrictions and government authority. This symbolic role helped fuel countless debates. What evidence exists that organized crime specifically targeted Fauci or attempted to influence pandemic policy? Publicly available historical evidence does not support dramatic claims of a mafia campaign against him. Researchers examining organized crime during the pandemic focused largely on fraud, financial crime, and adaptation strategies. The sensational narrative often found online is not supported by documented historical evidence. The real conflict was never Mafia versus Fauci. It was something larger. A conflict between public health measures and economic disruption. Businesses struggled. Workers lost jobs. Governments faced impossible decisions. The pandemic created tensions across society. Those tensions became the true story. The twist is that organized crime historically benefits from instability. While many people imagine criminal groups fighting disruption, history often shows them adapting to it. The greater the uncertainty, the more opportunities may emerge for fraud, illicit markets, and financial exploitation. The question was never whether organized crime could stop a crisis. The question was whether it could profit from one. The pandemic remains one of the most debated periods in modern history. Arguments continue over lockdowns, mandates, economic consequences, and public trust. Fauci remains a controversial figure in those discussions. Yet separating documented facts from speculation remains essential. Historical analysis depends on evidence. Not rumors. Not internet myths. Evidence. History suggests a consistent pattern. Criminal organizations tend to survive by adapting. Governments attempt to maintain order. Public officials respond to crises. Economic disruptions create winners and losers. And uncertainty creates opportunities. This pattern has appeared throughout modern history. The pandemic was no exception. Perhaps the most important question is not how the mafia would have handled Fauci. Perhaps the real question is this. When the next major crisis arrives, who will adapt faster? Governments trying to protect society, or criminal networks seeking to exploit the chaos? History suggests the answer may be more complicated than most people realize. And that mystery remains unresolved. Please don't forget to subscribe to my page, follow, like, and share for more hidden history, untold stories, and fascinating historical mysteries.